right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Legend of the Five Rings Blood, Bone, and Blade. My name is Will. I will be your storyteller this evening. Last we left off, we got to meet our cast of characters as they came together, where we met Doji Izanagi, we met a Kuni's Seiso, and we met Tamori Mori. Uh, each of them with their own kind of idiosyncrasies and their own backstories. Uh, Kuni Seizo, as he walked into town, was given some tea at the Lotus House by a beautiful peasant who is beholden to a Bayushi Saimon, who is the owner of the Lotus House and the representative of the Scorpion clan here in Shiromori Sato. The Doji and Tamori, however, had a much rougher interaction as they met because of a Ronin Shugenja named Jiomaru and the little boy, a little orphan boy named Ginte, who was pretending to be a goblin and almost ended up losing his life because of it. The three of them were brought together in court where they met the other representatives of the Dragon Clan, and the Phoenix clan, who all have vested interests here in the city. And after some drinking, they discovered a scream, or they heard a scream that led them to discover a body that had a dagger of carved obsidian stabbed into its side, which led to a very grisly discovery of the crane procession being assaulted directly at the young lady who is betrothed to a Imperial family member, where the two of them will be married here in the city. And as such, a mystery has begun to unravel revolving around the three samurai. We left off with the Doji finding a suitable replacement to be the bodyguard for the young lady. We had a moment between the Tamori and the Kuni where they shared dinner, and then all three of them met up again at the courthouse to share one last drink from the bottle of sake before hearing a thud outside, which is where we left off and where we will be picking up tonight's story. Hello again to you two. As I said, the thud comes from outside, and you notice Tamori Mori begin to push themselves up onto their knees, and as they do, they kind of collapse down onto the floor very softly, very sleepily, as this whole day has kind of taken a toll on them, and you just see them wave the two of you off in a very yawn-induced, what you imagine should be a kind of phrase of encouragement, but ends up coming out comically endearing as they fall asleep next to the sake bottle. So the two of you are now kind of left alone to deal with this thud from outside. What would you guys like to do?
Well, I'm gonna rush outside, see what happens.
I follow suit.
Okay. Kind of fearing the worst of having this sake be cursed in some way, shape, or form, and the idea that somehow this coming together of the three clans has been ceremoniously despised by the ancestors. You notice that there's nothing nefarious about the thud that came from outside, but rather a drunken old man that you recognize as the Shugenja from this morning has fallen, what you presume to be on his way home, and you can see that his walking staff has kind of cracked and splintered off, and that's what led to the thud. But he is on the floor, kind of half groaning, half laughing at his misfortune when he sees the two of you, and you see him look away sheepishly.
I go help him up.
I as well.
Okay. He thanks you profusely. You see him bowing to you. Oh, thank you, samurai. It's getting more difficult in my old age to make it home. I would need a new walking
Where
stick.
is your home?
He lifts the walking stick, which comically turns into a right angle as the break finally finishes its splinter, and it just kind of collapses. But he points off in the direction of one of the smaller buildings inside the magistrate house.
I offer him like my elbow to hold on to, but not like in an insulting way. Like hold my hand type. So I will, and maybe it's a good night to share a walk.
You are wise, and you see him kind of take one hand and pat your shoulder respectfully, and then with his other hand he does take your elbow. And he's like, I am very appreciative of this attention. I thank you both very deeply. And as you hobble with him, you take him over to his room, and you can see that it is a rather simple room, but there are some things that kind of stick out to the two of you. If both of you could make an investigation roll for me, we'll kick this thing off for reals. Konisaizo is trained. Both of you are trained, so it's going to be the middle.
I got a
button.
14.
Ooh. Here comes James with like 85.
I have to reload.
136.
Hold on.
Yeah. Open this up a bit. As far as it goes for you,
34. We burn off.
yeah, no, not too far off.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not great at combat. I'm an investigator.
Yeah.
Unless you're tainted, then I'm.
The one thing that calls to your attention, Pete, is there is a fan that is very ceremoniously and very beautifully held up on the wall that has a crane motif. You rolled high enough to realize that it is the slight shift in the crane to represent the Asahina family. James, you realize that there is the crane fan on the wall. On another part of the wall, kind of in the corner, with the handle up to kind of represent a single man, you see a daisho, but the scabbards are in phoenix colors. And you should you also see a small kind of wrapped four-fingered hand that looks to be in prayer bindings.
I go investigate that.
Okay. As you go to take a look at it, give me a Shadowlands lore roll, please.
Oof. Oh, not bad.
20 is great.
20.
20 is not bad. You see that the little hand is a goblin hand, but that the wrappings around it are actual prayer kind of wrappings. It's four-fingered. It's about the size of a small child's hand, but it looks old, almost like the skin is taut against the musculature and the bones of the hand underneath. And it looks like at one point it might have been in some kind of pickled jar to keep it fresh, more or less.
Well, this is by no means disturbing.
But yeah, Pete, as you help the old man into the room, you see the crab kind of shuffle past you, go into the room, and kind of stand over what you didn't notice before until he kind of brings attention to it. There's a small kind of what looks to be a trophy of some kind. It's a small kind of child's four-fingered hand that's been wrapped up in prayer bindings. And as he sees the two of you kind of draw attention to it, he motions. He kind of steps over and opens up a small closet where he unfurls or brings down his futon for the evening, and he kind of has this air of pride about him, but he's like, "Ah, yes, that is a hand from a goblin, the first such creature from the Shadowlands that I've driven away from the city when I was younger. Between my master and I, we protected the city from a small group of them. We lost some Ashigaru that night."
And I'm sure you served honorable.
I tried.
I'm going to investigate him directly and see if he is tainted.
Okay. The distrust
Just so
is
you know, I don't know
high.
how this would work.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm probably going to do that to everybody I meet. But normally when it's an investigation roll,
Yes.
but I get a +1 keep 0 for every full rank of taint they have. So you could do that off to the side so I don't know anything.
Sure.
Like, and I'll just roll the regular perception.
Yep.
Here.
32. Hot damn. As you kind of look at him and you kind of start looking for the telltale signs, you see that there are remnants of him having fought some creatures of the Shadowlands. You can see as he kind of bends over and starts to stretch out his futon or to kind of put his blanket down, that he does have some scarring that you've seen before from like goblins or other kind of what you would consider low-ranking Shadowlands creatures, small, nefarious demons, nothing major. But it looks like he's staved off the taint.
Good job. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Like at a cursory glance, he does not look tainted. There's no veins that look to be kind of pulsing with blackness. There's no veins or signs of it in his eyes. He looks tired. He does have bags under his eyes, but there's nothing that looks like there's a hidden darkness behind it.
Does he look like he's about to pass out, or is he still going to be conscious for a while?
No, it looks like the fall kind of knocked him out of his drunken stupor. He hasn't yawned at all since you've helped him to his feet, and he's kind of like sat
Okay.
down, crisscross, and he's kind of holding one hand on his right hand on his right knee, and just kind of looking up at the room, and kind of looking around at the two of you, between the two of you, and back to the hand, and you can see that there's this. It's starting to look like he should be worried, and his face softens because of
Okay.
it.
I just crouched down in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't you tell me the story about these goblins?
Oh, this must have been 20 years now, since the night that it happened. I was with my master, a young, at the time, Isawa. Oh, this was Kokereshi, was his name. Isawa Kokereshi, and he noticed that food was being taken in the small hovels of the northern part of the village, and we thought we would be dealing with some renegade Nezumi that might have made a home of the mines, and we only had a small contingent of Ashigaru with us. We had maybe 4 brave young men who were volunteered to join us. And sure enough, we hear commotion from one of the storehouses in the house that we had set up for the night, and that's when we saw the small, kind of hunched figures. We saw the hooked, kind of crooked noses and the clawed hands, and before I could, and you see him kind of struggling as he starts to visualize what happened to him. He says, before I could grasp what was happening, I remember my master's voice shouting for any and all earth chants that we knew, preferably anything dealing with jade. And luckily we had some visitors from the Crablands who let us exchange information as far as some chants were concerned, and between the two of us, and you see him kind of, he starts to rub his shoulder, like his right shoulder with his left hand, as he's kind of just trying to hold himself, and he says, I feel sorry for what we had to do, but the village's safety came first, and the Ashigaru honorably put themselves between us and the goblins, and I still hear them screaming sometimes, and as he looks out the door, you can see him kind of trail off for a moment, and then as he comes back, he's like, this is why I drink, I think, is to stop the screams. Then he kind of looks at you, and you see him force himself onto his knees, and he prostrates himself and puts his forehead on the floor, and he's just like, I apologize for what I did this morning, as I thought it a harmless prank for well-wishing for this couple and the future, and just I just had the best intentions for our city, and I didn't mean to almost cause Ginte's death. That I would never have forgiven myself for.
I put my hand on his shoulder, and I say, "Your apology was already accepted, and I am just as at fault. I did not survey the situation correctly, and reacted without thought. It is not all your fault."
You can see his shoulders and his back softly kind of pulse up and down, and you can recognize the very quiet, reserved sobbing of him crying.
I look around. Is there a tea set?
There is a really nice ceramic tea set that looks to have been made with the motif of the village itself. Like, you can see that there is a lake that kind of makes up the blue bottom part of the tea set, of the tea kettle. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it softens into the white of waves kind of foaming on a beach, and the top of the tea kettle looks to be in the shape of an island.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the lake to the west of the city itself and the island that sits in the center.
Does it look like it's ever been used, or does it look like a ceremony, like just an art piece?
It looks like it's had some share of use. Like, you can see, if you look inside, you can see the water lines of some of its uses. You can count maybe 4 water lines, so you can see that it hasn't been used a lot, or if it has, it's been kind of kept to the same kind of volumes, and you can easily make out that this is the kind of volume that would either serve just him or him and someone else. Like, this is never seen a full kind of hold of water.
I look over at him and I say, "In my family, it is commonly tradition to apologize and accept apologies over tea. Will you join me?"
He looks up, and you can see the red in his eyes from the tears, and he nods. He's like, it would be an honor, Samurai.
I get the set, I put it down, and I do an actual tea ceremony.
Ooh. So this is at least an hour.
Yeah, it's an hour.
Make your roll.
If the crab wants to leave, he can. But yeah, I'm actually trained in it too.
Ooh.
I'm just going to talk to him while this is going on. And I am going to take my piece of jade out, though, while this is going on, and hold it to the goblin's paw. And see if it reacts.
You see as the doji starts to kind of set the tea to the... and kind of go through the whole process of going through a tea ceremony. Like, you can see him kind of brushing the cups, kind of setting aside some of the leaves and whatnot for steeping. You pull out your jade, and the hand that is kind of sitting in what looks to be a cradle built for it, its fingers are somewhat curled in like a pitcher holding a baseball. And as you bring the jade to it, the fingers repel themselves from it, almost like the hand is opening up, so that it pushes the extremities as far away from this jade as possible.
This thing needs to be destroyed. Trophies aren't supposed to move.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. I'm gonna. While he's doing his tea ceremony, If there's like a fire pit, I'm going to start a fire.
Sure enough. You see that there is. Yeah. I think that you have jumped a couple of steps in the tea ceremony to start the fire, but as you see the doji kind of still going through the whole tapping the teapot and kind of going through the process of holding each saucer up and kind of letting the water fall from each saucer into the teapot and whatnot. You start the fire, and it's almost imperceptible, but there's a moment where you see his head turn in your direction, and then it just immediately turns back to the tea ceremony. You've known enough Crane to know that you have done something he dislikes, but he also understands the decorum of where he is. And he's like, I can't say shit.
we have Mr. Manners and Mr. No Manners here.
Mr. Manners to the point that I am setting a third cup because it would be an insult not to.
Yeah. And as you kind of strike the flint against the steel, you just hear the reverberations of the snoring coming from the courtroom where you have left Tamori Mori. And it sounds like a wild bear hibernating.
Some would say it sounds like a sleeping dragon.
Some would say that. But sure enough, you get the fire going, and you see that he is still, the doji is still kind of going through the tea ceremony. The Ronin Shigenja is kind of sitting up now. He has wiped away the tears in his eyes. He's kind of tried to compose himself, and he's kind of darting between the doji and you, James, as you kind of set this fire, and you have this whole under breath moment where he's like, well, that's got to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And by the way, if I do see him doing this, I'm already starting to calculate the apology that I'm going to have to put out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how am I going to smooth this over? Darn it, I should have paid more attention before it.
Yeah.
I'll get him a new walking stick, it's fine.
Yeah. Like, I imagine you, like, using the porcelain of the inside of this tea set to kind of try to twist it around to catch enough light to reflect so you can see what he's doing behind you, and you're just like, please, lords. Please.
Not yet. At least let me finish the tea ceremony before you start doing this.
For the love of every ancestor I have.
Well, I got to get the fire hot enough.
Do not insult this man in his home.
Not now.
But sure enough, you see that as you fill the teapot with the water and the leaves, and you're ready to put it on the fire, it has gotten to the point where it is now roaring. Clearly a little too hot for tea.
I hang it a little bit higher.
Yeah, but you see that the kuni is just like stoking it, adding more kind of broken twigs and whatnot to make sure that the fire kind of stays at a burning inferno.
Yeah, I'm not gonna add the goblin's paw until the teapot is off.
Okay.
Of the fire. Though.
Yes,
I'm not crazy.
Thank you.
Taint infused tea.
Enjoy your Maho tea. Yeah. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Looking at the fire, and I look back at Kuni-san, and I'm like, so apparently you studied with the Phoenix on how to set your fires.
Sufficient.
But sure enough, you see the small stream of steam start to kind of slither out like a charging snake from the spigot, and as you pull it off the hook, almost immediately, the second you pull this teapot off of the hook and out of the fire, there's a swift motion, and you just hear this soft thud, and you see this kind of repulsed goblin hand just start to kind of writhe in pain.
I look away, and I'm trying to keep my composure.
Yeah.
And I just sit down as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's just serenity on my face. I see nothing. I know nothing.
That side of that side of the room doesn't exist to you.
I'm so gonna get a lecture tomorrow.
But you see that he pushes himself up to one knee, almost in a kneeling position, as he kind of like, you see the age in him keeping him down, and he starts to. You see him kind of take in breath to kind of start to question what you're doing, and as you look at him, your war paint, very kind of off-putting to him, and you have like that raised eyebrow of like, you gonna say something to me? He immediately kind of plops back down.
I will, when he plops back down, I'm going to meet his eyes, and I'm going to try to, just with my mannerism and my eyes, just help him center himself.
Have you poured the tea yet?
Like my mom used to do with me when I was younger.
Yeah.
As I pour the tea.
And sure enough, you see that you kind of lock eyes with him. There's a sadness that you see kind of wash back up, that it kind of bubbles up, in his eyes, and as he looks at you, and you have that look of like, listen to me. This isn't a fight that you want. Like unspoken, that look of like, let him do what he's doing.
Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, he has that moment where he has a heavy sigh. He sees you pour 2 of the saucers, and then as you put the teapot down, he takes it up, and with a very reserved kind of acknowledgement of the situation, he pours your cup, and he says, to new beginnings, then.
To new beginnings. And I get my cup. Yeah. And I look over at Kuni-san, and I look at his cup.
Oh no, I plop down, and I just tap him on the shoulder, and I was like, you should sleep better tonight. Now.
Yeah.
And I just drink my tea.
Yeah, you guys drink your tea. There's a quiet moment that's shared between the 3 of you. And after the second cup that gets kind of filled up and sipped at, he looks over the 2 of you. He's like, how long will the 2 of you be staying here?
As long as it takes for me to put that assassin to my blade.
I heard about that.
And the wedding, of course. Whichever one, comes second.
When the touch of taint has left this place, I will be gone.
I understand. It's very few who come to Shidomori Sato to stay. I envy you. And you see him sipping from the tea.
When I finish my tea, I bow deeply to him, and I thank him for his hospitality.
He returns the low bow.
It is getting late, and I need to get some sleep.
He nods. Sleep
and
be good.
Yes. I'll see you in the morning. I stand up and I bow to Kuni-san. And I
bow.
And Kuni-san, I will find you in the morning. I'm
staying with the Bayushi.
Excellent. Where I'm staying at camp. You know where we are.
Yeah.
And I bow one more time and I leave.
Yep.
I go back and look at the fire.
The hand has proven somewhat resilient, but it is slowly turning to ash.
Okay. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, throw some more wood on,
Yeah.
and then go.
Yeah.
I tell the Shugenja feel free to sleep.
He looks at not just you but the whole situation oddly, as this is new to him. And you can see that he has the air of wanting to question what you're doing, but he also knows that you surpass any rank that he has, and there is nothing that he can really kind of argue with you about what you're doing. On any
No, I'll
level.
tell him exactly why I did it. Like, if it looks questioning to me, I'll just look at him flat out and say, look, this horrible trophy reacted to jade. It must be destroyed. This might be what's been keeping those horrible nightmares within your mind. You should sleep better. I meditate every morning if you wish to join me.
I might take you up on that. And you see him just kind of like lie down.
It's wonderful.
On his futon. He gives you one last nod. And then he turns around and just kind of puts his hand over his face.
Yeah.
And you can tell there's a sadness,
I will,
there's a sadness in him.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna make sure that this thing is pretty much destroyed before I go.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll try to contain the fire a bit so it doesn't burn his house down while he's sleeping. Then, make sure he's tucked in nice and tight, and pull his covers up over him if he's knocked him off, and head home.
Okay.
For the night.
Sure enough, it takes about another hour or so for this fire to just eat up the goblin hand. And when it finally does kind of char this blackened skeleton that once the last bit of it turns black with soot and ash and fire from just the heat, it crumbles immediately, like the whole thing in one fell swoop. And you do feel this kind of oppression that you hadn't noticed before lift from the room. And until it lifts, you realize that it was so subtly pervasive that even you didn't feel it as you entered the room. Like this thing had been here for a better part of 2 decades and had done so much subtle, pervasive damage in that time that you can easily feel that there's a difference the moment it crumbles. And sure enough, you even hear him kind of, as he turns in his sleep, there's a very kind of elated sigh that comes out of him. And it's kind of like a yawn. It kind of, the second you hear him do it, like the need for you to do it also kind of bubbles up inside of you. And you do feel that kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy the feeling.
Okay.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Turns out being young, impulsive, and brash can sometimes be a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it leads you to getting goblin hand trophies that you shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, I'll make sure he's like kind of tucked in and just like rest well, Shugenja. And I head back to the Bayushi's place.
Okay. Sure enough, as you come out, you see the same madam.
Actually, I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go check and see if the sake set is still there. And if it is, I'm gonna pack it up, roll it up, and I'll take it with me.
Oh
I can
no,
get it back to the doji tomorrow.
It's definitely not there.
Yeah, I figured that you would have picked it up.
We kind of ran out. I just want to make sure those seemed important. I didn't want to leave them.
Yeah, but sure enough, you see that as you go to check in on the tea set, on the sake set, you notice that.
By the way, I turn her over.
Yeah.
Like where she's comfortable, and I actually like wrap her cloak underneath her head like a little bed.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Because, dude, she's such they are such a kid.
Yeah.
That my like dad instincts would be like.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
No, trust me, I had that feeling. So sure enough, as you kind of walk over and check in, you see that the set is gone, and that the dragon has been looked after. Like there's a little bundle to make like a pillow for their head. There's a cloak that has been kind of draped over them, very carefully, and you can just hear the snoring.
Sleep well, little dragon.
There is a happiness.
Sleep well.
Yeah. And even in here, you notice that there's a lack of oppression in the air again. Like this whole, and now you're starting to realize that this whole magistrate building had been in the clutches of some dark kind of not taint, but definitely influence of the Shadowlands. And you're wondering like just how many interactions have been swayed by the pull of the negativity of that one goblin hand.
Oof.
Good job, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure enough, you go back to the Lotus House, and you see the madam from before kind of sitting out there. Again, it's
pretty late, right?
Yeah, it's about midnight at this point. And you see that they have another tea set. You know, there's another kind of similar tea set to the one that she had this morning. There's a different scent coming from it. You can tell that it is a night tea. It is something to help sleep. And you see her kind of pull up one of the extra cups that she has, and she sets it on the seat next to her, and she motions and she looks. She is careful to keep her eyes below yours, and she's like, if you care to join me, samurai, this is a delicious evening tea, cherry infused.
While it smells lovely, I unfortunately have work that I must attend to.
Of course.
But perhaps in the morning I look forward to your breakfast tea.
You see that she claps her hands and she calls out. She calls out, Shinmei, please. And a young girl, maybe like you want to say like at least 14, but no older than 16 or 17. She steps out from the house, beautiful, again, purple kimono that airs on the side of red, a gold trim, and just this kind of black threading that is subtle in some places, and as it comes together at the sternum, you notice that the threading of the two sides of the kimono, when they come together, they create a scorpion motif. But she comes over and she bows to the two of you, and she's like, and the mistress is like, Shinmei, if you could please show our samurai friend to his room. She bows low to you, and she's like, this way, samurai.
I follow.
Yeah, and she leads you around the back. You can see what looks to be two other girls in a kind of sitting room, and as you walk by, they stand up and they bow. And you don't see the Bayushi anywhere. But as you're taken to the back through a side kind of corridor, you see that the room that has been made for you is ample. It is maybe 10 by 12. It has the futon already laid out. It has a blanket on top of it, a kind of comforter that has been folded up and left in the corner. It has a small kind of pillow that, as you grab it, it feels like it's full of down. Like it is soft, and as she motions for you to enter the room. She says, I will have one of the other girls bring some water for you, should you desire it in the evening. Is there anything that I can get for you, Samurai?
Yes, may I have 2 rags and a pail of water, please?
Of course.
As well.
Of course.
Thank you.
And sure enough, after a few minutes, you see all 3 of the girls come in. One of them has a pail like you asked for, that's about 3/4 full of water. The other one has a kind of clamshell basin that looks to be about the size of her entire torso, that is half filled with water, that between the 2 of them they kind of lay it down, and you see that there is a ladle and a small kind of sake saucer that comes with it should you desire some water in the evening or during your stay, whatever. And then the other one kind of puts down the 2 rags on either side of the bucket, and all 3 of them bow low as they exit the room. The one that led you here, Shinmei, she kind of stops as the other 2 walk by her, and she says very softly, "Is this all, Samurai?"
That'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you. And they close the door. You can see through the rice paper door, all 3 of them kind of standing there. They bow again towards you, and then they slowly back away.
Yeah.
But you are left.
I'm gonna grab the ladle, just kind of pour some water for myself, and then I'm gonna wet one of the cloths with the ladle, and then I'm gonna start removing all my face paint.
Okay. So
just to kind of relax, and then
you go through your ritual.
Take all that off, relax, make some notes, like draw the monkey, draw the goblin's paw, I'm gonna write all that down in my little notebook, and then go to bed.
Okay. So sure enough, the next morning, Peter, you're awoken to the sound of people rushing around your tent.
Oh, Jesus.
And you see that the hothead has come back.
It's funny. I was about to ask about him. Go on.
Yeah. But yeah, as you got there in the evening, people told you that he's kind of he has not returned to the camp, and as you kind of went to bed with worry sitting in your stomach, in the morning you see that he's returned, and he has some peasants dragging a beaten kind of young man, and he has a head in one of his other hands. And everybody's kind of like murmuring about whether or not like he successfully found out the murderer, and what this could mean, and things like that. But the one that is standing outside your tent is the Kakita that you have put in charge of the doji.
Yeah. I walk over to see the person that he beat up and the head.
Yeah.
Do they look familiar in any way, shape, or form, like anybody's seen in town?
Nobody that you've seen. The young man looks, and you can't tell because of the bruising that's happened to him, and just the beating doesn't look efficient. It doesn't look like someone who went out to kind of dispense justice. It looks very much more driven by vengeance.
I will grab the nearest person I could use as a messenger. And I tell him where the crab is. And I tell him, I need you to bring Kuni-san here immediately. I have a feeling that an innocent person might be put to death unless you do.
They bow and they start to run off. The Kakita leans in and he's like, Doji-san.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This.
Actually, I don't say anything. I just look at him with an eyebrow raised.
Yeah, he just looks at you. He's just like, this is not our way.
No, it's not. And I walk straight to what family is little hothead boy?
The hothead, I believe.
Why do I have a feeling he's a Kakita?
No, that'd be convenient for you. Why do I not have his name here? Is it here? Nope, those are dragon names. I thought I had it written down. No, he is a Daidoji, we'll say.
Perfect.
No, sorry, he's a doji. I do have it written down.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, he's Doji Borano.
Actually, okay, so I walk over and I go, your apparent skills in investigation must have led you down a path, cousin.
He bows as you approach, and he kind of plops the head down.
I bow back, but it's very shallow.
Yeah, and he plops the head down next to the young boy, who kind of winces and tries to push himself away from the head. And it's at this point that you can see a familial resemblance. This looks like it might have been the boy's father. Or if, at the very least, like an uncle.
So, I suppress the... No. I let out the sigh of disapproval.
Okay.
I'm staring right at him.
Yeah, you can see that the Kakita has kind of moved with you, and has motioned for somebody to come over and start to clean up the boy. And as they start to kind of clean him up, you see that he has to be older than 16, but no older than 18 or 20.
So, cousin, what proof did you find of this individual using is that Mojo? Yeah, it's Mojo. No.
Maho.
Maho. Of using Maho.
You see him brazenly open his chest and kind of puff it out, and he pulls back his shoulders, and he's like, you see him, as you have chosen to kind of address him in your questioning, he's chosen to respond to everyone. And he's like, well, Doji-san, if you must know, I have seen this family at work. They are the ones that crafted the obsidian blade that took our beloved Daidoji-san Sama's handmaiden's life. These filthy peasants have a history of working with obsidian, which we all know is tainted rock.
Really? Did you bring any samples? Examples?
I dare not sully my hands with such filth, Doji-san.
You could have had somebody brought them as proof.
This is a slight oversight on my behalf, but I assure you, I require some aid in tracking down the man's wife. However, as she got away while I was dealing with these two ruffians, and you see him kind of put his hand on the boy, puts his foot on the boy's shoulder, and kind of pushes him down onto the ground.
I look at the boy. I go, boy, Is this true that your family crafts weapons of obsidian?
He, from his face kind of being pushed into the floor, he kind of turns to look in your direction, but he doesn't look up at you, and he says, "Yes, sir. This is true. This is fact."
Okay, so I'm asking because I remember I have that insanely good memory.
Mm.
Is this very uncommon for people to work with obsidian?
It is it is looked down upon because it is believed that once jade has eaten up taint, it becomes obsidian.
Okay, do I know this to be true, or is this a wives' tale?
A little both. A little both. You have never seen jade turn into obsidian, but you've heard enough to kind of like solidify it in your head. For sure, Hida Aguro has definitely kind of shown you pieces of obsidian that he's claimed were jade at some point.
Fair enough. Now, if he tells me, I believe it because he deals with this all the time.
Yeah.
It seems that you have done some good work. And I look at my cousin. But I have a expert who should soon be here.
It's like, excellent.
And I give him a little smirk. Like you just like I let him know that I may have just sprung a little trap on him.
Yeah. He's so caught up in his victory that he doesn't notice the deliciousness in your comment. But you see him start pointing at people, and he's like, "You three," and you see that one of the people he's pointed at is Kakita Ishin. And the Kakita kind of looks at you, and then he looks at him, and he's like, "I'm sorry, Doji-san. I must decline your invitation, as I have been tasked with the protection of Daidoji-sama." And he looks at him, and then he looks at you.
I just give him a little bit of a raised eyebrow.
And then he looks back at him, and he's like, "Kakita-san, remind me, do I have more rank than you?" And you see the Kakita's shoulders just drop.
Except I am the one who tasks him. And I just stare at my cousin.
Yeah, and you see him at that point, there's a smirk that he fights to let loose on his face, because he was hoping to kind of pull you into that open declaration. And he holds his hand up to his heart, and he's just like, "Forgiveness, Doji-san. I did not know that you had given him a special task. I will pick a different third for my group, and we will hunt down this peasant's mother, so that we might have some adult interaction with someone. So we might find out who hired these peasants for this task." And you see that there's venom when he says peasants. And sure enough, he points at a third, and he eagerly kind of rushes forward. And you see he takes his 3 members, and he starts to walk out of the camp. And as we jump over to see the inside of this Lotus house, it is early morning when one of the young ladies comes to knock on your door, James, and you hear, "Kuni-san, you have a visitor."
Have I been awake long, or am I woken up?
You are woken up.
Mm. I will be out there shortly.
Of course. Would you like any
And,
breakfast prepared for you, Kuni-san?
well, yes, sure.
Excellent.
Something simple.
Of course. And as you go through your morning routine and you start to paint yourself, you hear the soft footsteps of one of the girls kind of coming over, slowly opens the door without looking inside, slides a small kind of tray with a simple plate of porridge, and what looks to be some kind of cup of juice, and then the door closes, and you can hear them stand up and start to walk away, but after a certain distance you don't hear them anymore, and it kind of unnerves you for a second. Because when you walk down the hallway,
just waiting there.
Because when you walk down the hallway, you could hear yourself the entire way. Like the floor is somewhat hollow.
Yeah.
But sure enough,
I will. I'll plow my garb first. Eat and then head out to the main area.
The porridge is...
I will probably carry my food out with me to go eat while whoever wants to see me.
Okay. The porridge is...
I don't have the best of manners.
This is true. The porridge is a real simple kind of oatmeal that has shavings of apple and a kind of a garnish of orange peel that has been kind of grated onto like this kind of dust, like a dusting of orange peel, and just what you imagine is a little central pinch of cinnamon. The juice itself is a combination of apple, mostly apple, and just a hint of what you imagine is orange, and something that is a little tardy in your mouth that you remember having once in the far east of the Crane Lands. Which you remember is pineapple, which is odd to find all the way out here.
Yeah. This Bayushi's talents are wasted here.
But sure enough, you see that there is a young kind of waiting lad, like a lad in waiting, like an apprentice almost, in crane colors, beautiful kept kind of kimono, young. He looks like he hasn't gone through his ganpuku yet. And he just kind of like bows as you approach, really low. And he's like, Kuni-san, Doji-sama has sent me to gather you. He requires your skills.
Well, lead the way. And I kind of wolf the rest of my food down and just put it on and chug with the juice and put it on the table and head out. Is there anybody else, or is it just the Crane and I?
No, the mistress of the house is there, kind of standing at the doorway. Some of the girls you can see are already kind of cleaning up the Lotus house for the day's festivities and whatnot. And they all kind of bow low. And as you kind of devour the food in like 3 or 4 big heavy spoonfuls, there's a kind of gasp of amazement and at your display of kind of like uncouthness for how fast you are eating this thing that they've prepared for you. But as you kind of walk out with the Crane, like he's also giving you a look like that is inhuman.
Oh my god, it's like nobody's ever seen a crab eat before?
Nobody. So far north.
As I pass by the mistress of the house, I just say, my compliments to the chef.
She bows low to you.
And unfortunately tell Bayushi-san that I'm much grateful for being allowed to stay here for the evening.
Of course. You are free to stay here as long as you need, Kuni-san.
Thank you. And I follow the Crane.
Okay. You're brought to the fairgrounds in the south as you see this small kind of procession of like these 4 crane samurai walking headstrong, and kind of like power walking into the village, and past you towards the north part of town. And as you come into the not the heart of the encampment, but like a good opening, you see that there's a gathering of crane samurai. Doji Izanagi is standing over what looks to be a beaten young man and a severed head next to him, and there's another young looking crane samurai, who looks almost, if not more, well trimmed and immaculate than the doji himself.
Jeez, how is this possible?
Like, yeah, like if you could have the crisp, clear, kind of like black outline that you had for Samurai Jack on a person, that's what you would have for this Kakita.
As I approach, I notice the head. I just look over at the doji, and I'm like, "Wow, you guys really know how to have a morning."
I walk over to him, and Kuni-san, and I'm talking in a very low voice, and I give him a quick rundown of what just happened. And I admit to him, I'm at a loss. I don't know much about Shadowland lore. You're clearly much more knowledgeable in this than I am. I have a bad feeling that my cousin has committed a grave mistake. But I might be wrong.
Do I know if it's frowned upon to make weapons out of obsidian?
You know that the crab will do it just because they'll use anything that they can get an edge to fight the Shadowlands, they'll use. But you don't know how other people kind of see the thing, and you don't even know if people could, because it's so fragile. Because it takes a special kind of hand to use obsidian. It's something that would have been passed down for a few generations.
Okay. So it's not outright, at least as far as I know, it's not outright like, oh, you have this, like, we're going to kill you.
Yeah, it's not outlawed.
Okay. I'm, alright. I look over at he's my age. I look at the guy on the floor.
Yeah.
He's, close to my age.
Yeah. He's slightly younger than you.
Yeah.
But you see that he doesn't look up.
Yeah. Do you make obsidian blades?
He shakes his head. He's like, "No, samurai. I have not been taught yet fully. I was apprenticing under my father." And you see him kind of turn towards the severed head, but he kind of winces and looks away really fast.
Have you done this for a long time?
My family has done it for 3 generations. I was going to be the 4th.
Who do you make these? Well, what does your family normally make?
Arrowheads, mostly, sir. We find that sometimes hunters like the arrowheads because they can be used for fishing.
They're sharp.
Yeah. They work best for soft flesh like that found in fish, and so some of the fishermen will use them for some of the bigger fish in the lake, sir.
Okay. Have you made any blades recently?
We had some that we had made some time ago, just in case the need ever arose, sir. But I tried to tell the samurai that any blades that we had been stolen recently.
How long ago?
Sincerity lets you know if somebody's lying, right?
No. Sincerity is when you want to lie.
You want to lie.
But
what would it be? The
investigation.
Investigation?
Yeah, investigation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I see any tells of him lying right now.
Sure.
Because I'm not part of the conversation, so I'm just looking at him.
Yeah, go ahead and make an investigation roll.
Not bad.
No, it's
How many blades did you have?
16 is enough to tell you that he is so far telling the truth as far as he believes it. Like, this is,
as far as he knows it, this is his truth.
This is the truth, and this is, and you know for a fact that he did try to kind of speak up. That part is at least a very truthful statement. But he looks in your general direction, James, and he's just like, we had an altercation with a neighbor a couple of weeks ago, and in the fight, in the discussion, we think that he must have taken the blades to try and sell them. Some of our arrowheads were taken as well. It wasn't a terrible loss, but it was a loss nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. How many did you have of total that were stolen?
The three knives were taken, and a handful of arrowheads. I want to. If I said 6, I would be unsure of how honest I was to you, Samurai. And you see him still keeping his head down.
I look over at the doji here. I'm like, Doji-san, is this your prisoner?
Not mine, my cousin's.
Ah.
And I look down the road, and I'm like, I'll be back before he makes a grave mistake. And as I start to walk in the general direction they were walking, I am going to look at be 1 or 2 Iron Warriors here with us, right?
Of course.
I look at 2 of them and just give them the finger to follow me.
Oh, eagerly. Are you taking the Kuni with you?
If you wish to, I would love your assistance.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go and stop my cousin from killing his mother. Oh. And I point at the boy.
How many people are going to be left here at camp with the boy?
Oh, easily like samurai status. About 2 dozen, between 2 dozen and 3 dozen.
Oh, okay.
No, we have a large group here. I wasn't worried about taking 2 and leaving the place undefended.
Yeah.
All right. I just look at the boy. Where do you craft these weapons or tools as you see them?
We have a workshop in what used to be one of the mining offices. The daimyo of the city was kind enough to let us buy it out for the purposes of making sure that if he ever had a need for any of our items, that he immediately moved to the top of the list.
Okay. Do you live close by?
In the north end of town, and he gives you directions from the north watchtower how to get to his house, and then from the house to get to the actual like mining office.
I turn back and as a general thing to the rest of this camp, I'm like, nothing is to happen to him, for I am not done with him. And then I join the doji, and I just make a quick note of where
when he says that, I look at anybody who looks at me like, and I just give the nod.
Oh, there's nobody that looks to question the order.
Okay,
and in
just
fact,
making sure.
Yeah, and in fact, like the second he says that, the Kakita kind of steps over behind the boy and just kind of stands there like he's gonna guard himself.
I look at the Kakita. You can't be in 2 places at once.
Doji-san.
For goodness sake, somebody do something with the head. And I walk off.
Yeah. But yeah, you see that he looks at you and he sees what you're trying to say, and then you see him just kind of shift so that he has his attention on the boy, but he also has a clear line of sight straight to the tent. He's like,
perfect, and I get going.
Yeah. But you do hear him kind of call out for somebody to bury the head outside the encampment somewhere. But yeah, you guys.
I'm running.
Yeah.
At this point.
Okay.
Right, I guess I run as well.
Let's have you make investigation rolls to see if you can find this trail. Excuse me.
10. I'm average at best.
Yeah. 10 is not great, but it's not terrible either. It's like double digits.
Yep.
Once you hit those double digits, then that's when you're cooking.
Actually, when I'm looking around as we're going down the street, do I see any of the orphans?
On the main street, no, but you can kind of see a couple of them playing off to the side.
I look at all of them and I motion them toward me.
Yep. Did you make your roll? Because it never popped up.
Oh, sorry. I was following the doji.
Okay.
I can investigate as well.
He's expecting that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And clearly, compared to him, I'm not.
Yeah. You see that after a few minutes of him kind of walking around trying to find the trail that this other doji might have left in the city, he finds himself kind of looking at the same kind of tracks as people have started to move around the city, and it's become more difficult to kind of follow the four samurai. And as he kind of stops and calls over an orphan, you kind of take the opportunity to kind of look at what people are wearing, look at what his samurai are wearing, and start to kind of weed out the different tracks that you're following, and you find the actual trail. But you see a small kind of little girl come over to you, and she bows in what is the cutest attempt to be an adult possible. And she's like, "Yes, samurai."
I have a small smile on my face.
Oh yeah, it's very reminiscent of your daughter.
I just nod back to her and I go, "My cousins have come past here. I know you must have noticed them. Which way did they go?"
Yeah, there were 4 scary samurai that went this way, and you see her start running.
And I follow her.
Okay. And sure enough, you see that she kind of leads you towards the north part of the magistrate building, and she points in a direction, and she's like, "They went that way, and then I lost them." But they seem to the route that she's taken you has kind of followed the tracks that
awesome.
that Kuni had isolated. So it's not difficult to follow them from here. It's a lot less traffic as you go into the poor side of town.
Okay.
And sure enough, you follow them to the house, and you hear a woman scream.
Oh, I run.
Yeah. And as you open the door, you see that inside the door are 2 of the guys that he pointed out, and the other guy that kind of ran off after he tried to get Kakita to join him, you see, has captured this older looking woman, and as you slide open the door, you see him slap her. And as the door slides open with a heavy clack, everybody kind of turns to look in your direction. The woman is sobbing, and she looks down at the floor. And the guy looks at you. He's like, "Doji-san."
Cousin, you have reached the edge of my patience.
He's like, "I have found the boy's mother."
Yes, the boy's mother, a family that makes arrowheads for fishermen made out of that stone and had a few blades that were stolen, as well as our arrowheads by somebody that owed them money.
You see, he grabs a fistful of her hair and tilts her head upwards, and he's like, "Is this true, woman?" That's what my cousins say. Fact. And
I just look at her and I just nod toward her.
And you see she is sobbing at this point. There looks like any peasant beauty that she might have had at one point has been stolen from her since this man has come into her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she nods. And as she is about to say something, you see him slap her again.
Oh, no.
And he's like,
as soon as he gets to slap her,
yeah.
I'm going to use my jutsu, and I'm blocking it.
Oh. Ho. Let's have a roll-off.
Because I, unlike this little bastard, do believe in Bushido. A 24.
Oh, yeah, you beat my 18.
Not only do I block with a 24, not only do I block it, but I block it and I reverse the grip and I push him away.
Yeah, you see that as he kind of stumbles back, the pot, the kind of kettle where she was cooking her morning porridge kind of falls with a heavy clank, and you see a rice porridge kind of start to spill all over the tatami mats of their floor. And he looks at you, and as he takes a step forward and he rights his balance. He's like, "Doji-san, why would you stop my hand? She should talk only when asked to."
I nodded to her, therefore I gave her permission.
I did not see that. I apologize.
Of course you didn't, because you only see what's directly in front of you, fool.
You see him nod to you. You are correct. Shall we take her so that we may interrogate her then?
Interrogate her for what? I already told you what happened. We interrogated the boy far more effectively than you apparently did. I look at her and I say, I am very sorry that this has happened to your family.
He looks at his men, and with a heavy kind of begrudging motion, you see the one holding her lets her go. And the doji kind of looks over at you. He's like, "I guess we will leave this in your hands, Doji-san."
Thank you, cousin.
And you see him kind of do a motion with his pointer finger in a circle, and everybody kind of nods to him, and you see them just start to walk out.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of a power play.
Ooh, do it.
The one that was holding her,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I just give him a stare, like you're staying.
Okay.
And then I look at the other one that's with him, and I give him the same stare. My cousin's going to walk back by himself.
Okay. So you see the three of them kind of notice you're looking at them. And then as the other doji kind of sees you stopping the group of him that he had chosen, he kind of has this moment as he steps out. He sees the kuni in his full kind of face, turns away from it, disgusted, and then he kind of like has this moment where he's just like, "I understand." And
I look at the two Iron Warriors that I brought with me,
yeah.
And I go, "Please make sure my cousin gets back okay."
And they bow low to you. "Of course, Doji-san."
And I bow back to them.
And all three of them start to walk back towards the south end of town. This
And I look at the two that came here, and I go, both of you outside.
Yeah.
Nobody is to come in.
Yeah. And you see, as the three people that came with your doji namesake, there's a moment where I can only imagine what this must have looked like to Kuni Seizo, being in the middle of like a family drama. It's like being on the Kardashian show, I guess.
Small family dispute.
But yeah, you see these three crane kind of step out. Yeah, they step out of the house, and the only person inside now is Doji Izanagi and the older woman.
So I look at the woman and I say, "Please sit."
Do you want to step inside, James, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna step inside. I pick up the knocked over forge and see if there's anything left.
Yeah, there's a good half of it left over.
I try it.
It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
I give it to her.
Your son told us that somebody may have stolen some of these blades and arrowheads from you. Do you know his name and where we might be able to find him?
She keeps her gaze down and she's like, I would not like to incriminate anyone, sir.
No. I'm just going to ask him some questions. He may have sold the blades. I'm not saying that he's guilty of anything. Unlike my cousin, I am not going to revert to beating people until I get the truth I want.
Yeah. No, she looks at you. She looks in your direction. She's like, no, you misunderstand me, sir. There are many people who would want our business to fail. I have no one person that I can blame for this.
Fair enough.
We are not trusted for the craft that we have shared in our family. That will now die with my husband.
For that, I am deeply sorry.
I'm sure your lord will find new work for you.
She nods. Of course.
Without you, the samurai cannot perform their duties.
Yeah. Under her breath, she's like, I could become a basket weaver of some help.
Well then,
perhaps your son knows enough that he could start. But I digress. Why would your family make blades? I understand the arrowheads, but why the blades?
My husband one day just had it in his head that he had to make some knives, if anything, to protect us. And she kind of motions to the mess of the house.
Do you know how many he made?
He made 3. 1 for each of us.
Mm-hmm.
And as everything is kind of calmed down,
has anyone?
And as you're kind of like talking to her, you can smell the iron in the room, and you can see the kind of spatter of the high arc where it looks like her husband was killed while he was kneeling. It's a low.
Where is his body?
It's not there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I look back at were the 3 that were here, that are here, right? Were any of them with my cousin?
No.
Or did he do all that just by himself?
No, he did that by himself.
Jeez. Wonderful. Okay.
Oh, I hope the lord of this town wasn't too attached to his.
Oh no,
Or you might owe him some favors.
I've already thought about that. I'm gonna have to apologize and see what happens.
Yeah. But yeah, she She kind of looks around, and then you hear her. Is my son okay?
He's back at our camp.
Yes.
I'll send him home.
I appreciate that, honorable sir.
I sigh heavily, and I turn around and walk out.
Okay.
And I look at
No, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
Because I'll let you walk out.
Yeah, I walk out.
Oh, as he walks out, I'm gonna crouch down next to her and just say, has anybody shown any interest in your craft that has raised your suspicion?
I don't know what that means, sir, but I know that there was a merchant who was asking about our source some time ago, but he has since left the city.
So, I must tell you, one of your blades. Actually, I take out my book and I show her the drawing of it that I made.
She gasps.
One of your blades has been used in a dark ritual. So, the sooner you can find them, the sooner you will no longer have to deal with people like me.
I don't know where they could have gone to. And then you see her kind of look in a direction.
Okay.
There's a family that has been trying to go into the same tunnels as us because their vein has tapped out, has dried out. But
okay.
But they're not nefarious. They're not evil in any way. Like, they would never do this out of harm.
I'm looking for someone who would murder someone.
No,
I'm staying
that's
at the Bayushi's Lotus House. Should you think of anything, please come there and give me the message, or leave it with his servants.
Yeah. At this point, as you're still talking to her, and as the
I would avoid the crane. I would avoid the crane.
Yeah. As the doji's kind of standing outside, you see an eta come over. One of the male of the couple. He comes over. He bows low as he passes you. And he kind of peeks his head in. He sees that she's talking to another samurai, so he bows low as well, keeps his eyes down. And he's like,
you know where the body is that was here?
He turns in your direction. He's like, yes, sir. I was just coming to say that we are ready for its cremation. We wanted to know if the lady would be present.
She will, and I will send the son before you do so.
He nods. Of course.
And make sure there's somebody there to give a proper prayer to the kami.
Of course.
I will tell her myself. Where is the body?
This way. And you see him start to make way down the street.
Okay. I look at one of my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
I say, follow him. Come back and tell me where it is, so I could tell her.
He nods, and he begrudgingly starts to follow this eta.
I exit the building.
And when you get there, I just have my hands behind my back. I was calmly waiting for you.
Yep.
So, friend.
Unfortunately, they don't know who could want their blades. They have someone who would like their source for the material, but I can't imagine if it was a link, but might as well follow.
Do we know if it was their blade for sure?
She gasped when I showed her the picture, the drawing of it. So it looks like it was theirs, which means there are two more out there.
Wonderful.
Plus whatever
arrowheads and stuff like that.
So seeing as how I don't know where else to go, I am going to go check out their their manufacturing plant and their house, where they build them, and then I'll go check out the source. If I still
I will join you.
Run dry.
I look at one of my other cousins, and I tell him that I'm putting him in charge.
He nods.
And I say, you are to go as soon as our cousin returns. You are to find out where the body is going to be burned. You are to go back to the camp, escort the son back here, and you are to be there when the body is burned to honor the family for our haste.
You see he nods low to you. Of course.
And, yeah, that's it. I'm going to have to apologize to the Daimo at some point soon, because he will probably know, but investigating this with Kuni-san is much more important and pressing.
The third guy that's there just I tell my cousin starts to whistle as he walks off.
I tell my cousin also that after all that, he is to set up a meeting with the Daimo so I can officially apologize to him.
Okay.
And then I go with the Kuni.
Yep. So you go over to what would be their workshop. And you can see that it looks like it's been ransacked.
Okay.
Table has been tossed to the side. The tools are everywhere. And it looks like the only thing that wasn't taken was anything that didn't look useful and any large pieces of obsidian that are kind of like over 20 pounds.
Does it look like it was recently done?
That'll be an investigation roll.
Is that like a search or what?
An 11.
Yeah, you could use your emphasis. 22. Between the two of you, as you guys are looking around and kind of setting things back to where you think they belong, you can see that this was done within the last couple of days. This was a recent kind of attack.
It's probably when the blades were stolen.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that... Yeah, the blades were... We don't know how long ago the blades were stolen. Shoot.
It felt like it has been some time since the blades were stolen. Like at least a month.
Oh, okay. Then it wasn't this.
No.
This is interesting, the timing. Right before my cousin was killed. Huh.
Well, I'm sure that after they were taking them, I'm sure that other people thought that they were going to take all their tools. Tools are valuable.
Yeah, but why leave? And I point to big chunks of onyx. If it was one of the other families that worked, they would have taken those as well.
Unless they couldn't carry them.
They're not that heavy. But peasants are usually kind of weak. And I'm saying that with a smile on my face. Like, I'm joking.
No, but it's easier to hide a few tools in a cart than a cart full of onyx.
Fair enough. So I will...
Who knows, maybe that onyx isn't good. I don't know anything about crafting, so...
That's true. Fair enough. I'm going to walk around the outside of the workshop and see if I see anything that come out of the ordinary in the outside. Like anything like on the walls, anything.
Okay. Make another investigation check for outside.
A 15.
Nice. As you're looking around, trying to see anything that kind of grabs your attention, you notice that there looks to be a kind of patch of grass that looks like it was trampled. next to like a small bush of kind of wildflowers. As you kind of take a look at it, you notice that the wildflowers were hastily planted, and that they haven't been there long, and that they're hiding what looks to be a rune that has been painted onto the side of this house, but it looks to be dried blood.
Kuni-san. Kuni-san.
I stopped looking at everything inside, and yes, Doji.
You need to see this.
Come outside. What do I see?
I just point at the flowers.
You see him pointing at
inside the flowers.
Small bush of wildflowers. You never noticed them to be the type.
Yes,
I grab a stick.
They're very beautiful. That's quite crane of you.
You know what? You want to see quite crane? This is gonna be cool. I get into stance and I draw my katana and I cut the top of the plants off.
Yeah.
To show him the rune.
All right.
And then I put it back.
Do an Iaijutsu roll just to see how cool it truly is, or if it's just like a simple rote kind of action.
16, not bad.
It's mostly rote, but you see him kind of get down low. His stance widens, and then his hand slowly drifts down onto the katana, and there's a quick flash as the steel catches light, and as the flowers kind of start to fall one by one, you hear that slow kind of grind as the back of the sword slides against the metallic bit on his scabbard, and you hear that click, that satisfying click of the sword closing. And sure enough, as the last bit of the flowers fall over, you see what looks to be a kanji symbol that has been drawn in blood.
All right. After that, I kind of just tap you on your shoulder. I'm like, well, remind me to bring you for the winter court back to my house. I have some bushes that need to be taken care of.
I laugh out loud. I laugh because that's funny.
Down.
Well, I heard that. My friend told me that in the Shadowlands there are bushes that actually like try to eat you.
Yes, there's horrible things there that I do not wish to taint your ears with.
Oh, you don't have to. My friend has done that far enough.
In the far off,
I crouch down and look at this symbol.
In a small kind of crab train of carts, there's one large lumbering crab who suddenly starts to rub his ear, and he sneezes once, and he's just like, someone must be talking about me. But we cut back to you drawing the symbol into your journal. You've seen it before.
I break it up. I don't want to draw perfectly.
Right.
Like I'll kind of leave like a gap.
Right.
Just because I don't want it to Like I'll just kind of like cut it in half neatly.
Yeah.
But like I'll know where it connects, but I just don't want it to be.
Oh, of course. Like you know the kanji symbol, so you know exactly the stroke order and things like that. And I will draw it and send it to the group chat once we're done. But you recognize it as the kanji symbol for either jikan or toki, which is time. Mm-hmm. It's either a measurement of time or a measurement used to count down time. But it's normally attached to a number, and there is no number with the symbol, which fills you with a little bit of dread.
And how do these bushes look?
Now, excuse me, that they've been cut in twain and that they've been disturbed enough, it looks like they must have been planted here within the last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
This does not bode well.
Well, as soon as I saw a symbol, drawn in blood, that was my first indication that something's wrong with it.
Are there no more along the building?
If you look around and you kind of look at the same area, or like if you're actively looking for any blood drawn symbols, you don't find any. Not outside, but you do notice. You do notice that inside, the pieces of obsidian that have been left behind have that symbol drawn onto them.
That's why they were left.
Yeah.
Is that some kind of trap?
Maho can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'd say a quick prayer to the kami under my breath.
Mm-hmm. In total, there are 4 such pieces of obsidian. Four examples of that symbol spread throughout. So the one outside and 3 large pieces of obsidian.
I make a note of it. Is there any hammers in here at all?
There is. There has been a couple of hammers left over.
Okay. I grab a peasant that's walking by and make them smash all the stone.
Smart.
I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, look, I have better things to do, and I make one of them scrub off the.
Better you than me.
Remove the symbol. Well, no, I just tell them to do that, and then I head over to their house.
Okay.
And I'm gonna come back on my way back to double check it's been done.
Yeah, of course.
But
I'm following the Kuni.
Yeah. As you get back to the house, you see that the child has just arrived. And that the Edda is there waiting for them to kind of follow him back to where they're going to burn this body. But you also see that there is a peasant that has been brought along with the procession that is holding a wrapped satchel that you believe is the size of a head.
I present the mother and the son with one of the flowers from her doji cut.
The mother nods, and with an odd look at the flower, she's like, "Thank you for."
Is there a look of realization from the son or the mother?
Give me an investigation roll.
Well, so that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I know what you were going for. When you did that, I was like, ingenious. A 10 and a 15.
Yeah. No, there's no look to give them away in any way, shape, or form. Like they're both kind of confused by it. There's a head tilt. They assume that it's a sign of your kind of.
I'm like, do you like these flowers?
Good graces. She looks at it. She's like, I am not someone that has a favorite flower, but if you tell me that I must like them, samurai, then I will. I was
just being polite.
They are not my favorite. No.
Well, then you can throw them on the fire.
She nods.
And I go to investigate their house.
Okay. You see that they kind of look at you, walk past them into their house. Excuse me. But then the Edda kind of hurries them along, and they start to walk.
I'm following Kuni.
Okay. Yeah. So the family's taken over to kind of witness the body being burned, and you see that the other kind of doji samurai is with them as well. And he kind of gives you a look like, am I done here? And as he sees you kind of walk into the house as well, you hear him kind of sigh. And he continues to follow this family until he is actually done with the task that you've given him.
I'm hoping to teach my brash cousins a little bit of bushido and respect.
You can hope
peasants.
All of that.
They're peasants, but you're supposed to protect them, not beat the crap out of them.
Sure. And sure enough, as you walk into the house, you start to look around. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for anything like that symbol.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking to see if there's anything in my, like, that kind of does not look like it belongs. Like something that insinuates that they had something to do with this Maho.
Like another goblin hand.
Well, nothing, not even that obvious. I'm more looking for subtle things like, do they have, maybe their cooking knives are made out of onyx.
Right.
Oh, good.
Or I mean obsidian, sorry.
You think this
whole, like
every house in this town has a goblin hand as a trophy?
Or no eyeballs. There's to be 2 goblin hands, a couple eyeballs.
A single goblin was dismembered and passed around from house to house.
Macabre trophies.
That's how you get rid of them. That's how I heard you get rid of them. You just tear them apart and hand it to your neighbors. Go ahead and make investigation rolls, and you can use your emphasis if you want.
27.
Hot damn!
All right, good job.
The one time that you actually get higher. Damn.
Moment, it probably never happened again.
Well, yeah.
That's what I bring him around for.
Yeah, you're starting to learn. So 27 and 20.
Right.
Sure enough, as the two of you are kind of scouring, now that you have an idea of what you're looking for, the doji is actually the one that kind of has a moment where he notices that there's a towel draped over the kettle, and as you pull it aside and look inside, you notice that the same symbol has been drawn inside the kettle.
And they were eating. I just look at him and go, didn't you just eat out of that?
Me? No.
Yeah, you did taste the porridge.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but this is a different house.
Whose house are you at?
No, we're at the gate.
Why
the families.
Why would I have searched? Why would I have left? I mean, I would have searched their house first before. I would have searched their house before. Oh, yeah. I would have. Yeah, sorry. I thought we were at some random person's house.
No, I thought we came back to the house.
Yeah, I thought you came back to
I would have searched
her
her house first. Sorry.
Yeah, we're back.
No, I would have. Sorry, I thought we were at like she was. I thought she was hiding out at somebody else's house. That's what I thought.
No. You found them at her house, at their house.
Okay. Yeah. Like, oh, look at that. No, that wasn't in the no. You found that in the kettle.
In the kettle.
Yeah, I didn't eat from the kettle. I ate from like a pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the food was cooked in this kettle.
Isn't a kettle what you use to make tea?
Yeah. No,
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm thinking a pot. Yeah, never mind.
He did.
My bad.
He did eat the porridge, and it was in a pot. The mark is in a kettle. It looks like she was trying to rub it out.
Interesting. Should we wait for them to come back and ask when this appeared? Because apparently she was trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, but why was it in her kettle?
Somebody may have literally put it there. Maybe she pissed off somebody who's using this stuff, or the husband did.
Why would you put the marking for time on the outside? It's the same marking for time.
Oh, this is for time?
Yeah, same marking, same kanji symbol.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting. I had no idea why somebody would use time for that. What uses?
I'm gonna look around their house. While searching their house, do we find any of the missing tools or chunks of obsidian, anything like that?
You find a set of tools that are there, but it doesn't look like they were taken. It looks like these are a kind of set that would have belonged to the house if somebody brought their work home, kind of thing. Like they're much smaller. They're much easier to kind of keep.
So there's probably a little workstation.
Oh yeah, yeah. It doesn't take long for you to find it in the closet.
I look underneath it, around it.
Are there any tools that could be used to draw that symbol? Like, I'm guessing it was made with a brush, so I'm looking for something like that. Or is it made with a finger?
To get a good look at the one inside the kettle, you would have to break it. But you can imagine that it would have to have been done with a finger, and with the knowledge of how to have drawn the symbol correctly, given where it is in the kettle. Because
let's look
the little bit that you
outside
can see through the opening of the kettle, you can see that it's in the right orientation, and that to do that, you would either have to have gone through the kettle wall to draw it, or had a really good control of your finger. What were you saying?
How would you even...
You want to go outside?
Well, I'm curious as like, I'm gonna pretend that I'm gonna make tea. Actually, I give it to Doji because he makes tea a lot. Obviously.
Why do you want me to make tea with
this?
Why do you want me to make tea with this? We're not gonna drink it, right?
No, don't even fill it with water. I just want to see if you'll. Basically, I just want to see if you notice it, the way you make tea.
Oh, good idea. I start to make tea, like I'm gonna go through the motions. Mm-hmm. Do I notice it when I'm doing it?
No. The way that you would hold the tea kettle to yourself, in orientation to yourself, the symbol would be right pointed at you.
I say insidious. I would never have seen this.
So I have the other doji look at their cookware, and I'm gonna go outside and see if I notice any other symbol in on their home.
Yeah, I go look at all the rest of the cookware.
Yeah, no, the cookware is untouched. It's simple. You actually notice that the cookware that they have isn't even metallic. It's wood.
Okay.
So the fact that it's been rubbed, it could have been just them cleaning it after making tea.
Or she was trying to rub it off because she saw it.
Yeah. And as you kind of inspect the in between the thin kind of spaces between the hovels, there isn't anything that's been drawn onto the hovel itself. If you hop up and down a bit, you could see a little bit of the thatched roof, but there doesn't look to be anything up there either.
I'm going to go to the area where they sleep and look around where they sleep to see if there's any other symbols, like underneath, around, anything in a place that would not normally be seen, because now I know exactly what I'm trying to find.
Okay. You see as you pull back the tatami mat, there is a very packed part of the earth underneath the tatami mat that has been packed with kind of water and solidified, almost like a construction technique to show the symbol, to kind of take up the whole space of where the two of them would sleep.
Nami-san! You hear from inside again.
Yeah, go take a look.
And I show him with a flourish. Like...
How crane of you.
Yes. And I tell him I had to move all this to even find it. Mm-hmm. Somebody is messing with this family.
Or they're just good at hiding their tracks.
Fair enough, and we will find out when they come in.
Yeah. It's the same symbol? Time?
Yep, same symbol.
You know, I'm going to think back. Like, remember I used to, like, always look at my mother's books when I was younger? Mm-hmm. Do I remember anything like this that might spark a why?
Ooh. what would be a good roll for that?
I guess just normal intelligence.
I think no. Let's, because you are kind of recalling your mother's teachings.
Yeah.
So let's attach it to theology. Let's do your theology since you do have a rank in that.
11. And wait a minute, if I'm using my memory, don't I re-roll a dice or something? Or I get an extra dice or something for my perfect memory?
Oh, what does that say?
God, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I think I actually wrote down what it does. Or
Precise
I wrote it on the
memory, page 152.
Yeah, I forgot what that does.
Let's find out. Okay, here we go. You have an incredible ability to recall exactly things you have seen or heard. In any situation, you need to remember something exactly the way it was, whether the wording or something you read, and the details person's physical appearance. You add one, keep one to your intelligence training roll.
So just add one more. So it would be 14.
Okay. You remember a very kind of touchy lesson that was more guided towards your sister than you, because of you never actually showing any signs of having found a connection to the kami. And there was a much deeper lesson that you're having trouble kind of recalling in the haze of all the anxiety that's surrounding this whole situation. The fear of what you have to say to this daimyo over the loss of one of his peasants, and what that repercussion might have to what that repercussion might do to the doji that you're here protecting, and the possible wedding. And in all of that haze, you do remember there's a lesson that was taught that sometimes the simplest kanji can be the strongest connection a kami can have to manifesting on the material plane. That sometimes writing the symbol for mountain, for Yama, might embolden an earth elemental to kind of come forward in a much stronger persona. That sometimes the symbol for water, either Mizu or Kawa for river, might embolden or reinforce the summoning of said elemental spirit. And as you kind of remember that lesson, it worries you even more what the symbol for time might represent.
I mentioned this to the kuni.
All right. And
sure. Tell him I read long ago. I was overhearing my mother and my sister. My mother was giving my sister a lesson, and she mentioned, and I tell you everything I remember.
Mm-hmm. And as he is regaling you with this childhood story, which is plumped with because of his precise memory, there's a lot of detail that you don't need. The way his sister was sitting, how her hair was dressed, the weather, the
I got the samurai token.
Yeah. Like it is detailed, and throughout the whole thing, you see that Tamori Mori has kind of crept up behind him, listening to this whole story being told. And as he finishes, or gets to a point where it sounds like he's finishing, you just hear, "So what did I miss?" And this is where we'll pick up the next session.
All right.
I'd like to thank everyone who joined us this evening. Thank you for coming out, and I hope that you're enjoying this small glimpse into samurai lifestyle in Rokugan. As always, please wash your hands, keep your distance, wear a mask if you're going out in public. Please be careful of each other and look out for each other. And I know that times are tough and that mental health is a big issue that we're all kind of facing together. And I just want to say that if you need it, please don't hesitate reaching out to a friend or a family member and asking for help. And if you're a friend and family member of somebody who's normally a strong personality, don't be afraid to reach out. A simple hello is all it takes, and just checking in on people goes a long way. And there's no shame in asking for professional help. So if you think you need it, please go ahead and go looking for it. There is no shame in being healthy, and that includes mental health. And if we're available after stream, we can always sit down and chat and help each other out. But until the next time, I will see you on Friday for Star Wars, on Monday for Vampire, or next Wednesday where we pick up with our trio of samurais. Until then, please be safe.